back, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. It's good to be back after a little hiatus there. Just so you all know, which some of you do know that I see on here, our team was traveling around the state last month, doing in-person meetings that I felt like went really well. It was great to see all the PEs and area engineers and everybody in person, and discuss some of the issues that we have with construction and try to work for some resolutions on those. But it's really good to be back doing our e-construction thing and getting to see all of you on here and try to go through and give you some updates and keep you informed of all the things that are going on in the e-construction world at LADOTD. And so with that, also want to mention, and I know this was one of the big things we talked about, and you guys see Terry on here. Terry gave us an update in those construction roundup meetings of where we're at with our contract administration and limbs, and moving fully over to HeadLight. And we are at a fast pace right now around here, getting that ready to go. And so we look to be rolling that out very soon. And so very excited about that. And kind of at the end of this, we'll kind of discuss some things that we need to do ahead of time. Some of you may need to do ahead of time as we prepare for that rollout, but we'll save that for later. So Terry, I have you up first on my agenda. I didn't tell you that, but if you want to go ahead and take a few minutes to do your part, we'll hand it over to you now.
Yes, sir. I did not get the memo that I was going first. Hold on just a second. All right. All right. I'm juiced. I'm ready. Hey, everybody. It was really great to see so many of you. I'm loving seeing the faces of the folks that I got to visit with and chat with during the construction roundups. Many of you spoke to me separately about perhaps getting involved as we widen the pilot of construction contract administration. So what I'm going to do is just take a couple minutes and tell you what that entails. What are we doing in the pilot? So one of the final pieces, one of the two final pieces that we need to be able to sunset Site Manager is for all activities relating to change orders and progress payments be done in HeadLight. And so what that's going to do is that is going to allow at the unit level, everyone to decouple from Site Manager. So what's the big whoop? Why is this important? Because once you decouple and we stop the sync between Fieldbook and Site Manager, you never deal with a rejected report again that says unique constraint or some of those other obscure error messages that it gives you that you have to have, a Rosetta Stone to understand. So where we started off, it was back in August, and we started off with two pilot units. We started off with Kevin's unit and Unit 260, and then we started off with Dane's Unit 256 in District 61. And so what we did was we took two projects, brand new projects. Hold that thought, that's important. We'll come back to it. But we took two projects and we did the behind the scenes activities so that we literally decoupled it from Site Manager. And so what happened is for the entire assembly period and once work started, once DWRs were submitted, they were only done in HeadLight. So when Kevin's team or Dane's team submitted DWRs, he just went into Fieldbook, reviewed them, and approved them. Or rejected them with notes, as the case may be, but usually they're approved. This was really exciting to see, and Kevin and Dane were just pivotal in helping us work some of the kinks out as we rolled out that new part of the process. And so we are on, Kevin, you're on, your next estimate's going to be your fifth estimate, right?
I think it's going to be the fourth one. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yep, Dane's will be the fifth, and you've done a number of change orders. And so it's really exciting to see the system working as expected. Something that I really highlighted at the construction roundup was that this is a very easy lift in terms of adoption. And let me tell you why. Folks know what goes in an estimate. They know all the DWRs have to be submitted and approved. They know that, maybe their office manager is going to do an entry at month end to capture, fuel and asphalt adjustments. The PE or someone's probably going to do something to capture the percentage-based things that are paid, like mobilization, construction, layout, traffic control, those things that are paid incrementally. And then all of it's collected together. What's really cool is when a PE goes in and does all this in field book, they're doing a process they're intimately familiar with. They've been doing change orders and progress payments, in the numbers of hundreds or thousands at this point. So what's great is they're doing these processes they're very familiar with in a tool that everybody is familiar with. So much like field book, for the inspectors, when the PEs create payments or change orders, in the past, if they needed to change something, make a correction, it was kind of a delete and start over. And with field book, it's just like a DWR. You put it back to draft, you make your corrections, and you resubmit it. And there's a history of everything that was done. So my point in that and explaining is it's something folks know how to do and a tool y'all have been using for going on, some of you, 8 years now. And so it's exciting to be rolling this out. So what comes next? So we have used our beloved human guinea pigs, Kevin and Dane and their inspectors, to really kick the tires and make sure that we've got a few key things ironed out before we go wider. Well, wider is here. We are ready to go wider. I'm partnering with Les. We're going to send out a missive, an email to all the PEs so that PEs who have new project starts, you can even be basic in the beginning of assembly period, but as long as you haven't started construction or it's a new project start that's slated to start end of this month, maybe beginning of December, we want to go ahead and get you into field book. We want you to be able to have that decoupling from site manager, and we want to spread that more across so we can get more feedback. My goal, and I don't know if I've shared this with Les, is to get at least one project in each district by the end of the year so that I'm getting feedback from multiple teams in multiple areas to add on and reinforce the feedback that we've gotten from our pilot project engineers. So this is time to opt in. If you are an inspector on a project or you are a PE on a project that you think, hey, this would be great, you are welcome to hop over here in the chat and let me know the project number, and I will be in contact with you shortly to explain what it entails. All right. Oh, James Master, hi, how are you doing? I'm sad I didn't get to see you to give you your iPad. But this is really, it's really exciting. It's a culmination of, honestly, years of work with the goal that has always been to sunset Site Manager. The other part of that that I will probably not brief in depth on until our next e-construction meeting is LIMS. So Les could probably speak to this better than me. So if I start saying it crazy, jump on in, Les. When we rolled out materials and sample plan, gosh, what was that, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? It was, I would call it a stopgap measure because we wanted to get folks using the technology. We wanted the labs to start seeing it. We wanted people to get comfortable with creating the samples, using the QR codes, et cetera. And really, that all falls underneath the umbrella of the LIMS program. So what you have to look forward to is you having to go multiple places to log into multiple apps. A lot of that's going to go away. It will all be under LIMS, and there'll be more to follow on that. I'm sure you guys know there are 300 plus forms that can be used in your materials sampling activities. A good half dozen of them are extremely complex. It's like polynomial math, which I'm glad that's not my job because just saying those words makes my head hurt. But they're ironing all that out right now. Patrick and the e-construction team are going through and reviewing and vetting them. So it really is full court press to get all this done by our December 15th deadline so that starting 2026, my whole reason for being with DOTD will be to get all of my PEs and their office managers and probably the construction supervisors, anybody who reviews and approves DWRs, anybody who creates fuel and asphalt adjustments, anybody who does that kind of end of the month housekeeping to make sure the estimate's ready. Get those folks run through a training. I'll be hosting a series of open houses, which is basically a webinar. So I might say, hey, District 4 and 5, we're going to do your webinar today. All you guys can join in, and I'll walk you through an overview. The next step will be, I might give you the overview, and you might not have a project for 2 or 3 months, which means, some of that knowledge is perishable, right? So what we'll also have is a calendar reservation system where when a PE is ready to do their first payment or their second or their third and their first estimate or their second or their third, they can book 30 minutes with me and I'll be right there as a resource to kind of white glove carry them through it together and make sure that it is a smooth process and questions are answered in the moment. So I'm going to pause there now and open the floor. If you guys have any questions about what we're rolling out or how to get involved, let me know. And Jordan, I see I am duly noted. Thank you.
Somebody's got to have questions. This is a huge change.
Come on, y'all, don't crickets me. Somebody make something up. Can you press the little button on your thing that gives the little icon that pops up if you're excited to be sunsetting site manager? Can we get some? Oh, yes. Okay, here we go. I want to see some thumbs up. Yes. Woo. All right. That's good enough. That's enough. Woo. That's enough participation for me. That's awesome. It's been a long time in coming, and I'll close by saying, because when you take an organization from a legacy system like Site Manager with literally almost 500 field users, and you want to take an entire organization to a new system, it doesn't happen overnight. It's taken a number of years and a bit of an uphill slog. There's no denying that. But we really have been doing it the hard way in terms of having to go through an integration and a sync. Y'all are not going to believe what kind of easy street we're going to be on when all your projects are no longer in Site Manager. What I will close with is I'm looking for new starts right now. The next phase will be with the pilot units, with Kevin and Dane's units. We're going to take an ongoing project and bring everything in and make sure all that works before we try to do that wider. So it's kind of a phased approach, but I'll be sending that out and looking for people who want to opt in and get ahead of the game and get rid of that sync. So y'all hit me up.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate that. E-construction team would be excited about that as well. I could already see our little call center email group that we have going to next to nothing, because most of that is dealing with Citrix and sync stuff. So looking forward to that. We do have a couple of questions here. Sherry asked, how does the contractor approve estimates or change orders in HeadLight? That's a great question. We've got that figured out. They're doing it now, so they can go directly from the email. They obviously will have logins to get in, just like they have logins for Site Manager. And so it's a pretty seamless process, especially once we get all the notifications going to the places they're supposed to go.
That was resolved.
Right?
Yep.
That's the main thing. Right now, that's been working in some areas and other areas where, we just haven't got it set up quite right yet. But, even when it's not set up, it's just a quick email. They log into HeadLight, approve the estimate, approve the change order, and it goes to the next person. So,
and Sherry, that's a great question. Part of the things that we'll do, some of the communications, is we will give you something that we, like you and I, can share with the contractor that says, hey, summarizes, we're going to this. The method that you will approve is this. Few screenshots, here's how you log in. They're going to get an email notification. They're going to click on it. It's going to take them into their dashboard, and they can look at the appropriate payment or estimate that is pending, waiting for their approval. And that has worked. Kevin, I think you could say that has worked thus far pretty good.
Yes, it's been very, very smooth. If anything, I don't want to badmouth anybody, and I'm really not, but the contractor that I have, he's tech savvy somewhat, but not super tech savvy. He was able to pick it up like that. And he said, with him receiving the email links for both change order and estimate approvals, it's just a click of two buttons.
And just to share less, I'm pretty sure I shared this out, but just as a reminder, this was one of the kinks that we worked out in the pilot, was the person who creates the document, the form, the change order, or the progress payment, they are the submitter. They created it, right? And then the system knows by this project, based on who has what permissions, oh, this is the contractor, the signatory on this project. Great, we're going to send it to whatever that person's name is. Once they sign it, we had a little glitch because it didn't come back and tell the PE, hey, you're up next. That has been resolved. I'm really happy to report. Kevin, please let me know in your next change order if you do get that notification. I'm gonna be looking for that as soon as I know you've got a couple pending right now you're working on. But it's really neat how it looks at the roles of the people assigned to the project and knows how to take it all the way through based on the protocols, what your dollar threshold is, what you need your approval, just you and the contractor, you, the contractor and district area engineer, or the ones that get kicked further upstairs all the way up to FHWA. So that's really exciting to be able to see all that history right there in the form as it's unfolding.
Actually, Terry, I can answer that right now. Change order number 5, the one that you had to help Lacey with.
Mm-hmm.
When once the contractor approved it on their end, I did get an email saying, "Hey, it's ready for you to approve."
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a sticky wicket for technical reasons. I'm not even going to try to understand when the creator and the second approver are the same person, but we cracked the code.
Right. The only thing, or the only email I didn't get, and I don't know if this is supposed to happen, is I haven't been getting an email saying that the change orders reached their final approval.
That's something that Patrick had mentioned, that he wants everyone on the approval chain to get a notification when it has reached completeness. That's in the works, but it probably won't be this month. But we understand that that's a request and why, and most people will already have a folder created for all those notifications to go to, because for some folks it's going to be a whole lot, especially the poor folks in the finance office.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was already created and just wasn't working. That's why I brought it up.
Nope, not yet. Okay, the question that Jessica had about samples and tests and limbs, right now you're still going to be syncing with limbs. We're only decoupling you from Fieldbook. Sorry, you're still going to be syncing with the materials app, and that is a following step.
I'm wondering there, Terry, if Jessica means like site manager limbs. So I don't believe that you will have to have everything like completed and ready to move over. That will be a phase transition as well, right? So projects that are starting new in HeadLight all the way with the limbs portion as well, you'll be creating samples there and getting tests there. The projects that you're, probably not even halfway through on your particular project, but those we would just move everything over later. But no, you don't have to have everything completed by December 15th at all. Like, you just keep doing what you're doing, and when it's time to move you over, we'll try to make that as seamless as possible. And then I see Vicky, and this came up a lot in the construction roundup meetings, and I'm glad you brought this up, Vicky, for us to discuss here. It's about like the site manager reports page. There are tons of reports on there. We know all the PE offices use those a lot. In fact, our group here at headquarters uses them a lot as well. And so what we're doing there is those reports all, of course, tie into that site manager database. And so Patrick has had some others in the construction team, not me because I'm not technical enough to do this, but he's had others on our team connecting those now, like making what he calls a crosswalk table, so that eventually we'll just connect that to the HeadLight database. They won't be called site manager reports anymore. And that'll move some of that stuff over to the new data. And so you'll have the same things there, but it'll just be connected to a new data source. But while saying that, I also want to say that a lot of that will just be taken care of in HeadLight. You'll get dashboards and stuff in HeadLight that will give you some of that information that you currently use. And so you might not need to go to the site manager report page that you normally go to, because it just might be in the contract administration software. We don't know 100% what that's going to look like yet. And so it'll be something we figure out as we move through the rollout. I'm sure that the PEs will let us know their thoughts on that, because I know that that information is needed. And so we want to be able to provide it for you. But it's not going away. We're going to make sure you have the stuff you need to move your project forward.
And Patrick has also said, Vicky, and he might have said it when we were at the roundup last month, I think that was last month. If there's anything that you need that's an ad hoc report that you can't get what you need, he wants you to contact him / the e-construction team, and he will run a query and get you the data you need. That'll be an interim measure. So I get the other question people had was, will I have access to all my historical all my historical change orders? And the answer is yes.
Yep, the data is not going away. We'll still have it, so we can get it to you. All right. Any other questions on contract administration before we move on? All right, we'll take that as no. We'll still have another Q&A at the end. So if you think of something, just jot it down, put it in the chat room, and or in the chat, and we'll discuss it at the end as well. So I have a few updates for you today. Not too much, try not to take up too much of your time, but a few things that have happened over the past couple months that we have not had a chance to talk about here. And one of them is, and this is of course something else that we discussed at the rollout. As most of you know, there was an e-ticketing spec that went out. So all of the newer projects that have been coming out this year, I believe after maybe February, if I'm remembering that right, have the e-ticketing spec in them. And so hopefully some of you are already looking at the e-tickets and getting those and getting familiar with that system. But of course, the e-construction team wants to continue to push that. Uh, Patrick had in his presentation he gave at the construction roundups, he was discussing the kind of where we're at with HaulHub, and we have seen tremendous growth after that spec came out of people getting tickets on their project. But the one thing that we have realized that is not happening is marking those tickets as delivered. And so that's kind of a crucial step that we want to get everybody moving towards. I'm going to share my screen here. See if I can get to the HaulHub app. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. Are you seeing my HaulHub screen? Yep. Okay, good. All right. And so I'm going to use our test project here as an example of what we're talking about when we say mark delivered. And this looks exactly the same in the app version. In fact, I have it pulled up as well. I could probably show you. So in the web view here, you can see, and this is just our test project, our little sandbox that we have for kind of learning how to use HaulHub. We have 1,555 tickets that are pending and 78 that have been marked delivered. And this is what we're seeing kind of across the state for those jobs who are using e-ticketing is they're getting the tickets, right? You guys are receiving the e-tickets instead of the paper tickets on the job, but there's nothing being done with them. What we really want is to see those tickets get into a delivered status. That is like us accepting the material, and not necessarily meaning like accept it as pay, but when when I was an inspector for all those years, when I would get an asphalt ticket, I would go grab it off the shuttle buggy right there, or even at the trucks at the point of delivery. And then I would usually turn it over on the back. There was always a stamp on the back of it, right, with information that needed to be filled out. Like you could put a temperature in there. You definitely filled out your lot and sublot for the asphalt, and just other things that we had to put. There were some codes that we had to use, right? And so kind of writing on that, and then I always kind of signed or initialed each ticket. That's the way we did it in my office back then, and that's kind of what we're doing here with the e-tickets, right? When you are marking this delivered, you're kind of putting your signature on it, saying, "Okay, I see this ticket; it was delivered." Not accepting it as far as pay, but it did show up to the job, right? That's you doing that. And so I'll show you. This is a view. I love this web view of HaulHub. This is like a spreadsheet style view with all of the ticket data, right, for everything that's been coming in here. And of course, some of these are not going to make sense to us because they're even from other states. But what you can do here, let's say if you, so when we want to mark a ticket delivered, you'll get that on your iPad out in the field if you're an inspector, right? And it's very easy to, there's a button there that says mark delivered, and I'll show you when I switch over to my iPad. But we know that sometimes we don't have enough people on a project, right, to be standing at the paver the whole time. You probably have other things going on in the project. You might have to leave for a little while to go check another operation out and then come back. And so you might not be standing there all day to be marking tickets delivered. But it's super easy to do after the fact. So even on your iPad using the web version, or even when you get back to the office, right, at the end of the day, if you need to do it then, one thing I like here is the way you can filter these things. And so let's take a day that we let's see, what day do we have tickets here? Let's go to, looks like there was a lot of tickets for the 13th. So let's go to the 13th. Right. And so this is just going to filter all the tickets for that one day. So you can imagine this looks like it was stone or something, but you can just imagine that this was asphalt, right? Delivered to the job. And so this would be all the tickets that you would receive for the day. It's very simple to go over here, select all of these, and mark them as delivered, right? So you can choose the date and time there. And now they'll all go from a pending status to a delivered status. And that kind of satisfies that requirement of marking the tickets delivered, like this material showed up to the job. I'm not sure why we're taking so long to do this here, probably because I'm using all my bandwidth, but you'll see these statuses, they should go to delivered. Another thing that you can do here is not just mark them as delivered, but you can actually go through and like I was talking about earlier, how I used to fill out the back of the ticket, you can do that here as well in bulk. Let me go back. Yeah, you can actually see that the tickets we just had got marked delivered. So these are the ones we were just looking at on the 13th were marked delivered. But in that same view, let's say let's go back to these pending tickets. The field notes section, so this is in the app as well. This is like the inspector notes, like that would be on the back of the paper ticket that you would fill out. You can actually fill these out as well. So you can go in and, if you had the same notes for 10 tickets, for 5 or 6 tickets, right? You could just go in here and add notes bulk all at one time. So if you wanted to add lot numbers, temperatures, any of that kind of stuff, maybe even you were walking along and doing a yield at this point, and so you wanted to add that to the tickets, you can add that here, bulk notes on this section. Super easy to go through and just bulk document stuff on a batch of tickets, right? Using this view. Also, okay, so we did multiple tickets, marking as delivered. I'm going to switch over to my iPad. Before I do, I wanted to show you, this is a new feature HaulHub came out. We have often had people emailing us like, hey, where do we get help? Like, I believe everybody on this call has heard us say a million times, if you need help with HeadLight, it's support@headlight.com, right? It's on the back of the iPad. We say that all the time, but I don't think we've been clear on what you do when you have an issue with HaulHub. And so they have put in this ticket monitoring feature on the web version here. And this just like shows the report of the tickets that have been submitted through the app. There's not in this web portal, there's not a way to submit a ticket here. It's done through the app. And so I'm going to switch over to my iPad now, or try to. Just a second. Need to end this screen share. So let me turn so you can see what I'm doing. All right, I got a little mouse here. It's a little better than tapping. You can usually see where I'm at. I'm opening the eDot app. I'm gonna move myself out of the way. So up here in the right corner, if you notice this little plant looking thing, this is where you would go to report issues if you're in the field. And so the thing I was showing you on the web version is kind of a tracker of what's going on with reported issues, but this is actually where you report it. When you click on that, you can report a new issue right here. You see in the purple, report new issue. It'll bring up kind of like a form similar to what HeadLight uses now with the issue reporting form. And so it's drop downs. I can't see tickets, I'm missing tickets, that kind of stuff. You basically go fill all this stuff out, submit the issue, and HaulHub is very responsive to this in their app, and they will work to get those tickets flowing. That usually happens pretty quickly, but we wanted to call that out because like I said earlier, I just don't think we've been very clear on where you go to get help with HaulHub. Now, that being said, you're still welcome to email the e-construction group. That dotd-econstruction@la.gov is a great resource. Donna LeBlanc in our group is the one who handles most of those, but if you email the whole group, at least we're aware of it. And if somebody else has time or Donna's out, we can all get you help. And then all of that usually ends up going to, if it's not something we can do, we send that over to Sean Miller at HaulHub, who you guys have seen on here training for HaulHub a few times. And so those are the ways you get help. But the main way is through the app and the report issue. We just wanted to call that out for you. Now, while I'm on my iPad here, let's go look at a ticket and show you how it looks to mark a ticket delivered here. We go to the test project again. It's obviously the same, but just looks a little different. I'll have to go back where there were some tickets. Let's go back to the 13th because that's where we were at before. So when you're in the field holding your iPad, tickets are flowing, asphalt's coming in, or they're shipping stone or concrete or something along those lines, you're going to start seeing these tickets, and you'll see this little ticket station here, ticket icon here with the number. So this represents a ticket, just like a piece of paper ticket, right? And so you're just going to go to, these are actually delivered already. Let me find one that's not. Maybe I need to go to a different date. Sorry about that. If the 17th is marked delivered. All right, so here we have a ticket that is unstationed, not marked delivered, right? It's in the pending status that we were talking about earlier. So the notes section here, these were be the inspector notes, and you can see you have different fields that you can fill out: temperature of the mat, ambient temperature outside, station, all the stuff that we would normally fill out. In fact, there's more here that you can fill out. They're just places for general notes. Let's say that something happened to a load and you want to be able to document it so that you know to come back and check it later or something along those lines. You can do all that there. The unstationed part, so it's very easy to just go enter in a station if you are close by one. A station stake that you can see where you're at and mark a station for the ticket is not required. But we would like you to grab some of those throughout the day when you're standing by a stake. Now, another part of this, and I'm just going to mention it quickly, is HaulHub has integrated digital stations into their system. We are at this time having some trouble getting our project files to line up with their system. I believe the output files that we get from design just do not work well for what their system has. There is a way to manually input station locations that will kind of map it through the job. When that's done and in their system, you don't even have to be close to a state. You can literally just hit this button and it will station it. Actually, it's picking up. I really didn't know it was going to do this, but I put stations out in front of the building here, the headquarters building. I picked one of the little roads that go around the building and I added stations to it so that I could demo this. And it will grab your station and offset. So right now it's showing that I'm nearly 60 feet away from the center line of the road out front of the building here. And when you hit use station, it just pops it in there for you. So that is a really great feature. We just have to get this worked out where we're able to get our project files uploaded. If you guys have a project you're using HaulHub on and you want to try, if you have a design file, we'll try to upload it and get it to work. If it does not, at this time, we can do the manual for you. We're happy to jump on a Zoom call and I'll input that for you. And you can show me where to drop the pins for that. So just know that that's a feature there, the digital stationing part. But back to the main thing we're talking about here is marking delivered. It's literally just tapping this button right here. You're going to assign a pay code to it. So this one would be asphalt tons. How much of that are we going to use? Because HaulHub obviously has places where you can split this up. So even if you had waste here, you could remove some of the 21.1 tons. But on this one, we're just going to say use net. That's the whole ticket and confirm delivery. This is what we're asking you to do for each ticket. Whether you do them single at the point of delivery on the iPad during the day or do multiple at the end of the day on the job, try to have all of the tickets out of that pending status, whether it's rejected or delivered, either one of those. At the end of the job, we would like to see them all out of that pending status. Okay, any questions there? Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit since we've talked about HaulHub for a minute and bring up another something that came up last month from our audit group. I know I've said before that we started doing HeadLight ATMs maybe a couple of years ago now, and we've had lots of those come through and get approved. I find that people tend to like that system and are thinking that the ATM on the HeadLight side is working well. But April over in the audit section came to me about a month and a half ago while we were not doing webinars and said that somebody had submitted one and it was just very difficult to find. I believe they were looking for the asphalt section because they really go through all the fuel and asphalt stuff at the end of the project. And so it was not labeled clearly for her to find that. And so I told her, well, look, we tend to train towards having everything in a file at the bottom of the ATM that's labeled kind of like the binder we used to do for, when you would turn in a paper 2059 ATM, right? You would turn in a binder, it'd usually have tabs for section 203, 302, 502, whatever you have there. We're looking to recreate that digitally, and you're able to do that in the HeadLight form. So let me share my screen and see if I can find where I put that. So while we're doing this, I know a few of you might have noticed if you read the newsletter already that our HeadLight hero this month is Brandon Usey. He and one of the reasons I put him in there for HeadLight Hero is one, he is always really great at disseminating information that he gets about anything e-construction to others in his district. I really think that's a great quality and being able to share that out. But also, he's done several 2059 ATMs in HeadLight and has submitted those and does really well at sectioning those off at the end for review. Now, in the past, we have had people create samples and attach CDs and CAs and that kind of stuff to the sample. And I think that's still great documentation practices. But when it comes to the labs or even obviously our audit section here, it needs to be a little more clear to them on how to find that information so that they can review it. So the review process has to be done a different way. And you'll see here at the bottom of this 2059 that Brandon submitted, he's got a section 502, and he kind of breaks these up into certs and JMFs and asphalt lot pay reports, that kind of thing, which is completely fine. Even if you had all of these in one, all of the 502 in one, that's great as well. And so really you can find the certs easily if you're trying to review this. But if imagine your audit and you're looking for the pay reports, right? It'd be easy to go grab this. Well, the one that they received had a bunch of other stuff and it really wasn't labeled well, no section on it, I believe. And so it was really hard for them to find those reports. They were there. So the person who submitted that did what they were supposed to by putting them in the ATM. But obviously you don't want somebody to have to go look for hours to try to find something, right? So I wanted to show you, and maybe I closed my tabs. Let me open another one here to Field Book. I want to show you what it looks like to put things into a what I would call the tab, like the old 2059s, right? So HeadLight obviously accepts files. And so on the bottom of an ATM, I'm not going to open one because they take a couple minutes to load, but basically you're adding a file to the ATM just like you would add a file observation, which is this one here. And so when you go to add a file in HeadLight, what would be nice is, actually, let me go up one here. So I have a folder here with 502. This is my recommendation, is that you open a folder on your computer and that's where you drop all your CDs, CAs, CCs, that kind of stuff, or any other documentation that would go into the ATM. But in this 502 section here, I've dropped a couple things, right? It would be really nice if you could just take that folder and drop it in here, but that doesn't work. So the way the HeadLight files work, Um, it actually, it will, like it looks like it worked here, right? Like it uploaded the 502, but really it only uploaded that first document in the file, not the whole file itself. And so what we have to do is when you open this is all the files that you have in there have to be combined into one PDF. And so you'll have to find, whatever program you use to do that. My Adobe, I'm able to combine everything. So once you combine everything, I think I might have even done it here. Yeah, so I combine those two files here, and then you're able to upload it as one file and instead of a folder, right? And so that's what you're going to be looking at when you're doing your ATMs in HeadLight. Get all the files for a section and label it clearly that it's 502, whether it's the entire 502 or if you split it up into JMFs or that kind of thing. Just make sure that's labeled clearly. Any questions about ATM documentation process, how you add things to it?
Hey, Les, this is Brian.
Yeah.
So does it matter? And I'm sorry, I was on a call, but I was kind of half paying attention. But does it matter if you upload these individually or as a group, like you're just showing from a search perspective?
So that's kind of what I'm talking about here is when you upload them individually, it's very difficult for anybody who is reviewing or auditing the project to go search through each individual thing and find it, right? So putting it in what I call like a folder style, which would be a combined PDF with a naming convention of like the folder, makes it much easier for them to go find the information they're looking for. I believe April was able to find when the person uploaded them all as single files, she's able to find it, but she had to go out of the ATM back in the field book and do a search to get to what she needed. And not everybody who reviews stuff is really understands it well enough to go do that right now. So you know, being clear on the naming of which I'm going to say even this one that Brandon did here, like the 15773 is probably not necessary. This was probably just the way he had it on his computer, right? The 502 section 502, I believe, is the main part, and then what is it? The certs or JMFs or that kind of thing. So
Yeah, would it be to everyone's advantage if we put out some sort of nomenclature on how to save these, like naming conventions?
well, we have through these videos, but we could put it together in a document to send out, and I believe that would be helpful. Um, the one thing I've been a little hesitant on with sending stuff out right now is if we are converting projects in the new year, right? How is any of this going to change? And I
Right.
think that we're going to find that this really kind of becomes obsolete as we move into HeadLight only, right? Because then HeadLight's generating the test results from their LIM system directly into right as a push button 2059 at the end of the job. And so hopefully that resolves some of it. But I do find some value there, Brian, where we could send out some documentation like, hey, this is the way we would like you to name these files prior to uploading them to the ATM. So that's,
Yeah, and I think that would give us, just in this transition period, it would just give us some standardization, maybe.
yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and for the most part, that word has gotten out because all of the ones I've seen, or not all of them, but most of the ones I've seen have that very similar naming convention, like that section, and that's where they put everything. It's just the one ATM they got that was like individual files made it pretty difficult for them to review it. So yeah, that's good. We'll send out a document. We'll create one and send it out on kind of what we're looking for there.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate that. All right, so that's all I have for the ATM projects. Looks like there is a question here. Do we submit the new ATM by section number or line item? Not sure if I understand the question there, Paul. So the ATM, I guess so the ATM is all generated. It pulls in all the line items and all the tests associated to that. In fact, maybe I should open one up here. I think there might be one in the test project. Well, there wouldn't be good test data in there. I guess we'll open Brandon's here. I'll just download the PDF of it. It'll pop up a little faster. Okay, so you're going to have the original sample plan if you did one show up here, and then all of the end of project material summary. So under the item codes and line items, you're going to have all your passing or failing test, info test, right? So all of that's kind of built in. What we're particularly talking about here is the additional documentation you put, right? So any of the certifications you grab in the field, obviously we have to put IRI reports, that kind of stuff in to the ATM. And so we're attaching all of that as supporting documentation. I would say not the line item. I think the labs and other reviewers go off of sections more than the line items. I do like PE offices tend to do projects off line items now. That's what we have become accustomed to. But I think when you're reviewing something, it's really off of that section, right? The asphalt section or the pipe section kind of a deal. So I don't necessarily think that you should upload those as individual line items here. I really think they should be grouped by that section number. Hopefully that answered your question. So as we went around the state, in the afternoon section, I did a little presentation, and it was about using artificial intelligence in construction, right? So this has become obviously a hot topic over the past couple of years. Our section has been using AI to help with just about everything. In fact, you even probably see, if you read the newsletter at the bottom now, there's a statement there that all of the articles were assisted by AI because I do not write that well, right? And so I definitely just tell AI what I want it to say, and it puts that together for me. And so, this is OTS's website. You can go to doa.la.gov and find this policy. They actually put out a policy, I think last month or September 29th, right? So right before October, of how we should use AI. And there's, a lot of scope, applicability, what you can do, what you can't do in it. If you don't want to read all this, if you want an easy way to do it, you can always kind of drop that into I use Copilot this time. Just said, please give me a list of acceptable and non-acceptable uses of AI according to this policy. And I dropped the policy in here, and AI very quickly gave me a list. Okay, these are things you can do and things you can't do, right? And so I suggest everybody go read this policy or do what I did here and put it into AI so it'll make it a little easier for you to understand what we can do. So some of the big things is supplementing human decision making, right? Being transparent that if you use AI, you're acknowledging that you use AI, and that's why I put that in my newsletter. And then some of the non-acceptable uses, like we don't enter confidential and restricted state data. We do not make independent AI business decisions. I think this is the big one, right? So you don't just put data in it and whatever AI says, you go with it. It has to be reviewed by you if you're going to use it. And so the policy is really not very restrictive, which I was glad to see. Patrick and I have had meetings over the past year or so with other states who are kind of interested in what we've been doing with it here. And their states basically told them, you cannot use AI at all for anything. And so it's frustrating for them to have a tool that can be so helpful, right, and then not be able to use it at all. So I was pleasantly surprised to see this policy come out. Kind of, to me, it even leans into, hey, you should be using this to help, get your work done a little easier. And so, like I said, we've been using it for a while, and the e-construction team, we have found a couple of ways that we feel like it'd be very beneficial for you to use in the field. And so I'm not going to go through all that today, especially only with a few minutes left, but I want to tell you, we are planning to have some classes on this. And so probably in December, I'll start sending out some invites so that we can get together and kind of show you some of the ways we find that it would be useful for you. I even see some benefit here as we prepare to roll out HeadLight. Like I believe we can, just a glimpse into what I've been doing. We've been using Google Notebooks to put like you can upload documents to it. I believe we'll be able to upload some of the transcripts from training and that kind of stuff and give you a searchable training document to be able to use whenever you're learning how to use the software. I think that'll be very handy for you. And so anyway, just be looking for some invites coming out probably starting next month. And, we'll probably do several of them. And so we'll maybe get you some of the things we've been using, and hopefully it'll be there to help you out. But the main thing I wanted to bring up today is that there is a policy. And so if you are using AI already to help you with some of your construction tasks, make sure you're following this policy. And then also on that same kind of vein there is, as we prepare to roll out contract administration and LIMS, there are still some groups that have not fully taken advantage of using HeadLight at all. And so we want to offer another, kind of get ahead of the game right before you are fully into the system. If your team needs some training, let us know so that we can give you some of the basic trainings, going through field book, or going through materials, sample plan. I mean, all of that's going to work together in the new system. And so you'll have to know how to use those tools. So if your unit or your team has not been utilizing HeadLight and you need some basics, we are happy to do that with you. And so let us know and we'll start getting some stuff scheduled there. And I think that's the last topic I have. So we have a few minutes left for Q&A. If anybody has questions, you're free to ask them now, live or in the chat.
So based on what you just said, Les, it seems like there are some offices that still are not fully embracing HeadLight. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
So we know they're out there. We know it's going to be tough if we just wait until we turn Site Manager off and the icon on your desktop disappears, which is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So reach out to us and get a jump start on that.
Yeah, good call out there, Brian. And so, yeah, I would even say this, even within offices that have implemented HeadLight, there are still personnel in that office that has not been using HeadLight, right? So not the whole office as a group, but you have some units where you have 10 inspectors and 8 of them use HeadLight and 2 of them have been in Site Manager this entire time, right? And so getting everybody up to speed in that office, when that Site Manager icon disappears, you're not going to know what to do or know how to do your job. And so please try to get ahead of that. Send us some information so we can get a class going for you. All right. Last call for questions. Okay, so we have a question here in the chat. What would be the appropriate user role for document controller on a project for HeadLight? Document controller, I would probably say that's going to be office manager or office staff in our current system. But I also, while we're talking about this, I mean, you guys are going to see the contract administration and the LIMS module, but there's a whole new background system that HeadLight has that even our team has not been fully briefed on yet, and that is user management, where there are tons and tons of user roles and will allow you to see just the things you need to see. And so I would say for now it would be office manager or office staff, but in the future that's going to change. And so basically they can give you very specific accessibility, roles. Terry, you hopped on. I don't know if you had something else to say about that.
No, I just didn't know if anybody was going to have any questions on that. That would probably be a good topic for us to maybe hit next time. Yep. Because this gives us, that's the whole foundation of all of the processes and workflows and approvals and who sees what. The days of having to add one person to, a new person to 20 projects, or give an area engineer access to all the projects across their district. All all that is resolved, and it really is a beautiful thing that's going to allow us, and when I say us, I mean Patrick and the construction team, to really dial in to make sure that users see what they need to see, and we're working very efficiently in how we get folks into groups and roles to make sure that that happens.
Looking forward to it. It looks like a very robust system, and I think it will be helpful. Something for that e-construction team to learn. Dive in. We got to get away from the site manager user management side as well. So we have new software to learn, just like you do. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for joining us again. Glad we were able to get back together and do this, and be looking for lots of communications and trainings and stuff coming out of the e-construction office here in the future. We will not bother you during the holidays, but all the other weeks we will be sending stuff out to you, trying to get you where you need to be so that we can get this stuff rolled out to you.
And Les, my vote is that we have Saji take point on all of the roles and configuration of that. You good with that, Saji?
Yeah, we'll let Jay do it.
Yeah,
go
maybe.
I'm just giving you a hard time because I saw you here.
Look, and like on the last part of that thread, while we're on here, go check out that newsletter. We have a couple of new people in e-construction who have been really awesome. They are diving in and working on LIM stuff for you. So go take a look at their little write-up in the newsletter. Send them an email. All right. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.